Is the journey of a div. What we are going to do is we are going to learn all about programming, or at least the high-level concepts of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. HTML is the presentation structure, so it's basically the tags and meat and the core of the document. Your CSS is the styling of the document. It stands for Cascading Style Sheet. And it is the way that your code, it's the way that your HTML is displayed. And JavaScript is what makes it come alive and what turns it into something more real. So I'm not going to do this in a lecture format. So if you have questions, comments, suggestions, please leave them in chat. Let's interact. My apologies for my green screen. Everything is out of whack with my technical setup here, as basically all of my settings were completely borked as of yesterday, so I had to rebuild everything. So yes, we're just going to kind of jump in. So I'm just going to jump back and forth between... thank you so much for the hosting, by the way, Railtia and Geek Girly Gaming. I greatly appreciate it. So we're going to jump back and forth pretty much between what we see here, which is the HTML window. So this is a standard browser that is loading the file that we are working on. And then I'm going to have three different files, one for our HTML, one for our CSS, and one for our JavaScript. And the reason for those three files is more just for sanity's sake. You can technically put them all in one, but when you do that, then it just gets hard to read and hard to look at. So what we're going to start with is we have to build a world. So we have to have this document. So our main hero of the story, the div, which I will be asking you guys to help me name. So the div has to live in a world, and that world is a document, and that document is HTML. HTML works with tags. There's opening and closing. So everything within this is part of the HTML document. So if I just save this and I go back to my browser, I see nothing because it's just an empty document, because that's what we start with. So let's first give it a header and give it a title. And our title is going to be divs world. All right, so now if I just do that, if you'll notice, it's tiny, but up here you see divs world. And that means that is what your title is. So title's not very exciting, but you guys, if you make a bookmark or things like that, that's where title is relevant. But your header information is all the information that's like about your documents, your document title, and you can include other files. We'll kind of get to that. What's most important is we want to get to the things that are displayed, our body. The body is the body of the document. It is what is displayed, what shows up. So we're first going to start. We're going to build our hero. We're going to build our div. And if anyone has name suggestions, toss them out. Otherwise, I'm just going to call him div. So if I put this out here, we now have div. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit so that you guys can see. But yeah, so we now have div. Div is now in existence. We have created div. Technically, we don't need the header to have created div, but we did. So div is now alive. So now we need to name him. So the way naming works in the computer world is names have to be unique. So unlike when someone's Bob Smith, there can be many Bob Smiths, but there is that Bob Smith. So in this case, we have the concept of an ID. And an ID is a unique name that you give to an item. That has to be unique within the document. It also can't contain special characters and can't start with a number. Why? And it doesn't really matter. So let's call him hero div. Why hero div? Because he's the hero. He is the main character of this story. So he's important. We don't need to show the other files for now. Okay, so we have our hero div. So hero div now, so he's got a name. Now, what does a name specifically give to you? A name doesn't give much. So if I reload the page, We most certainly can have flaming hugs there later, Rail. But I'm not sure that's an appropriate name. Okay, so we now have to introduce some sort of styling, because right now our main hero is a little boring. He's got black lettering and a white background. And he's lacking pizzazz. So what we're gonna do is we're going to link rel is style sheet type equals text CSS and all right. So what I'm doing here is I'm adding a link, and a link references another document. It's a style sheet, so we're talking about CSS. It is the type of text CSS, and then the href is the reference. So what is the file name? So style.css. So the first thing we need to do is create this. So new file, style.css. So I'll make that a little bigger. Okay, that's readable. All right, so now anything that I put in style CSS.css will be linked and included within this document here. So everything is visible here. You can't really see my mouse, my apologies. So everything you see in the document will also be in there. So we've basically just connected them. So the first thing we want to do is hero div. All right, so you'll notice I put the pound symbol. Pound means it's referencing the ID. So what I'm saying is only the element with the ID of hero div is going to get all of the styling within here. In programming, the curly braces left and right are used for opening and closing, and basically means everything contained. It's like a big hug. Everything in there. This is your flaming hugs rail. Everything in there is connected. So yes, so we have our hero div, and first let's give him some color. So color, I'll do RGB because it's a lot easier to explain. So color red, so we'll give him 200 and maybe 30. Okay, so what I did here is color. So I'm saying his color is going to be red, green, blue, and then I give the red, the green, and the blue. Some of you may also be familiar, if you're either old school developers or new to it, doing the Rgb and Hex notation. So something like, EE, 1616. So like you might see something that looks like this. It's basically 6 characters, and the first 2 are red, second 2 are green, third 2 are blue. I find this a little harder to kind of parse out. And what's nice about using RGB is you can also do RGBA, which adds an alpha channel, which allows you to have transparencies. So RGB, let's just stick with that for now. All right, so let's just change his color. Let's be simple. So he is now red. So I reload and we have red. So div is now red. That's great. All right, so let's give him some clothes. He's naked right now, so let's give him a border. 1 pixel. We can give him a solid. We can give him dashed. There's a few different types of border styles. What's most important is that I'm showing you can do a border. So let's do solid border, and we will do it RGB. And we'll give him a gray border. So something along the lines of like 200, 200, 200. So let's take a look. So he now has a huge border. Whoa. He is taking up the full entire space. So he is a little bit, zealous here. He wants to take up too much space. So the reason for this is that a div element is something called a block element. And a block element takes the entire line if it can. So there's a few options. One is we can change it from a block element to something else, like inline block or inline. But that's really not what we want to do. What we want to do is we want to say, first off, hello, Dave, how are you? So we want to say how big our hero is going to be, because if we want our hero to grow or shrink, it's great. So let's give him a width of 42 pixels and a height of, let's say, 64. Let's make him a rectangle. So now he's got a height and a weight. So this is great. He's taking shape, literally. Another thing is we want to give him a border radius of 4 pixels. So now he's kind of got some rounded edges. So if I zoom in, you can see that really well. So he's got some rounded edges going on here. So this is good. So the other thing is now we have this text. This text is not centered at all. So we want to center it. So text align, centered. Okay. So now I want to do something else. So I want to introduce a new concept. So we have hero div, but hero div is what we're going to call a person. So he's a specific type of person, but a person is more generic. So kind of like people. All people have, you know, arms, legs, etc., you know, and yeah, except certain cases. So all of those things. So let's say, so we'll use the period. So period is means class. So when we're referencing, as you've noted, the hash is for an ID, and the period is for a class. So in this case, let's say, let's move all of this in here. So if you are a person, so if we have a person sitting in here, then you're going to have a border, you're going to have a height, a width, a border radius, and a text align, and you're going to have a line height of 64 pixels. Hello, Carly. How are you? So what this will do, what this should do, actually, I think I need 32 pixels. What this will do is move the text down. Okay, no, I do need 64. All right, perfect. So now we have this. So why did I move it to a class? Well, because life would be kind of boring if we only had one person. One person in the world is kind of boring, so let's add another person. So we add another person. Class is person. And we will call him extra. So he's just an extra in this place. So now we have an extra. But since extra is a person, I said hi. So now we have a person. So now we have another person. So now we can technically just keep creating people. So we can have extra, extra 2. So as long as they're a person, then they have information, which is great. So now we can do all this stuff. So another thing that you can see going on here is that everything is kind of stacking. So what the document is now trying to do is it's trying to put the next element in order. This HTML was originally designed as a document language. So think of text. So when you write text and then add more text and add more text and add another paragraph, imagine in a book everything kind of laying out and flowing, and that's kind of what HTML was supposed to do. So in this case, we're going a step further. We're talking about using kind of the page as a canvas. So if we are using it default straight out of the box, which is what we're doing here, as you see, there's nothing special or new. Everything's going to try and flow. So what I talked about previously, very briefly, is that these are block elements, and they actually want to take up the entire space. If I wanted them to be able to kind of go next to each other, what I could do is display inline block. I need to keep it block because block will allow me to give it a height and weight. So if I do that, now they go next to each other, which is nice. But really, that's not what I want to do. What I want to do is to be able to position these things. I want them to be able to move around. This is a world, and they should be able to move around. So what I'm going to do is position absolute. So what this is saying is that instead of here, where I simply said, I said to the HTML world, I said, here's an item and here's some information about it. What's that information? That information is, here's the title, here's some basic styling, and then you tell me where it should go. So you position it, and that's kind of what brought us here, which is having some divs all set up. Great, fine, reasonable enough. But if we want to tell it and say, hey, this guy, I want to actually control where he positions, I can give him an X and Y coordinate. I can tell him where I want him to go. So that's what I'm going to do. So in the position absolute, so now what I want to do is I'm going to give him a top. Let's just say 120 pixels, and left 120 pixels. So now my div, my hero, has moved, and my two other people are just sitting there on top of each other. If you notice, there's an extra and an extra 2 below it. So why are they on top of each other? They're on top of each other because they haven't been given a position. So where their position is 0, 0, which is over here, and then the document has some padding, so it's moved. So now the question is, how do we get our person to people to come alive? So the first thing I want to do is actually give our person some cool little things. So right now, our people are kind of boring. They just they're a little box with something in them, which is okay. We can even give them a background. So I can give him background color RGB. Okay, so let's make him blue background. So it's say 30, 160, 20 with an alpha of about 0.3, which is 30%. Which, if you're familiar, that's pretty low. So yeah, so that's red green. So it's green. So it's 20, 160. Because I said blue. So there we go. So we got a very light blue, and he's now got a background, but he's still kind of. So what we're gonna do is we're going to do dot person before. So what we're doing here, now this is something that's new, new-ish. It's new to CSS 3, and what it is it's a I believe the technical term is a pseudo class, and what it's doing is it's saying go before my element and create something. So what I'm going to do is position relative. I think I want relative. I might have to play with this. And then top is going to be 0. And the left is going to be 0. And then I'm going to say border 1 pixel solid. And then we'll make them for now black so we can see RGB A 0, 0, 0, 1. Okay. And height 10 pixels, width 10 pixels. So what this is doing is saying go before my person and put this little box. And that did not work. So let's see, position absolute. Let's see. Let's firebug it. Whoa, forward. Inspect element. Person before. Okay, why are you not showing? Display block. So what I'm doing now is live editing the CSS and seeing why things aren't working. So there is a before. Let me just double check. So when you get into these situations, the greatest thing is you do CSS before. And you can figure out, first off, okay, it's double. So that was one of my mistakes. But I think it was auto-correcting. So let's... this is what we want. So double selector is not the issue. Okay. I need to give it content. That's the problem. Content. All right. So for now, I'll just do that. So that actually should be okay. So let's see. Yes. Okay. So now I have this little box here. which is not exactly what we wanted, but let's inspect it and figure it out. Okay, so if we go into here and we take a look at our before, so we want to display block. Okay, so we display it as block, and now it shows up there. So it is now a blocking element. So let's position absolute. And it should, okay, so it's showing in there. So now top 0, and now what I want, left 0. So let's make our top -10. Okay, so what you see here is now we have a little box on top. So let's copy this. Now that we know it works, go back here. Okay, so now we have, what we've done is we've created an element that sits on top of, that sits next to that. So now I want to do border radius top left 7 pixels, border radius top right 7 pixels. So now if I do this, all right, what's the exact syntax? Let's see, border radius top left. Okay, top dash left dash radius. Okay, border top left radius. All right, border top right radius. Wrong one. All right, so now if you notice, we almost have ears. So let's move that up a bit. So I think -12, and then let's copy it. And let's do it again. And this will be our after. So the left, so what we're going to do then is right 0. So right means set the right side of this to be 0. So all of a sudden now our people have ears. They could be cats for all we know, but they have ears, and that's exciting. So border bottom 0 pixels. Okay, and then let's copy that for up here. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, so let's move that down just a bit, because that's, and let's give it a color. Let's give it a background color RGB. Hello, puppy cat. How are you? So let's see. Let's give it a gray. So let's make it like 100, 100, 100, 0, 1. Okay. So there we go. So we now have ears, and we could take our border, because our border is a little slim. We can give it 2. So it's gonna be bigger. All right. So we now have this thing. So now the problem is we have this div, this guy, this hero, and we have 2 people, but they're kind of boring. They need to come to life. We need to wake them up. So how are we going to do that? So we can do that a few different ways. And the one way we're going to do that is through JavaScript. I assume you mean Unity, the programming language, or at least the 3D framework. It is fun, but it is quite much. All right. So the way we're going to do that is through JavaScript. And the way we're going to do that is script, and then we're going to set the href is to script.js. So it's going to be very, very boring. And the same way we had a style sheet in a different file, we could technically not have this href, and we could put everything in between. and that would be perfectly acceptable, but it would be harder to, it'd just be harder to maintain. So that's why we're doing a new file. So let's do script.js. So new file, script.js. And just to check that it works, we're going to quickly do an alert, hello world. And then we go here, and it didn't work. So let's see. Script type text.js. And what's going on? Why you no work? Hello. Ah, that's why, because it's not href. I am brain farting. It is src. So this is what happens when you have really, really, really early spec that no one ever wants to change. So everywhere else in the world you use href to do like a link and things like that. But back in the day, src is what stood for source, which is why you have image src. So my bad, it's src. That's what was wrong. And now that's not working. It's just because what did I do wrong? Script, source, script's there. There we go. Ah, there we go. So yes, so this pops up saying hello world. I realize that's tiny, but my apologies. So yeah, so now we have a hello world. So we now have JavaScript. We have the ability, to control things. We now have the ability to do things. I'm going to use a pre-written JavaScript library that's going to make our life significantly easier. That library is called Jquery, and it is wonderful and amazing. And what I'm going to do is go to Google Code Jquery, and I'm going to nab the include code for that. So Jquery basically just allows you to do a lot of things that are normally 20, 30, 40 lines of JavaScript in like 2. In some cases, it's not as fast as doing things in just basic JavaScript, but it's just so worth it. So in this case, I'm going to take this script here, and I'm going to include it. So I will zoom in. Really, I mean, anyone can use JavaScript or jQuery. It's usable both online and offline. So if you have, like if you're creating an ebook or an EPUB, you can very much use jQuery as well. It is public domain, open source. Well, not public domain. It's GPL license, I believe, but it's open source, freely available to use. Wonderful and amazing. The concepts are the same. You can do everything you do in jQuery, you can do in regular JavaScript, but it's just easier with jQuery. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is go to our script. We don't need we don't need hello world anymore. So we want to make our hero move, because there's nothing more exciting than making a hero move. So what we want to do is, first is document.ready. All right. So this is a bit of code that says in jQuery, this is jQuery notation. This is what is kind of unique to jQuery that is not normally in JavaScript. So what you're doing here is you're selecting the document. The document is the entire object. And then you're running a function called ready. Ready says wait until the document is fully loaded and then execute this. The reason it's necessary is because sometimes it takes a long time for the JavaScript to load, and you don't want to run the one script until another script is loaded. It's basically, if you're just learning, this is something you can copy paste, but I'm just kind of explaining. And then function, and then this basically says when this is ready, run this function. All right, so the first thing I want to do is body.click function. So first let's test this. Alert, you clicked me. All right, so what we want to do is when the document itself And I think body should be enough. If not, I will try document here. When it's clicked, say you clicked me. So go back here. All right, so I need to do document. Document. So document. So I said you clicked me. And it says you clicked me. Yay, it's clicking all the time. Okay, so now we want to do something else because this isn't exactly terribly exciting. So now what we want to do is we want to figure out where we clicked, because we want to move our character to where we clicked, because that's exciting. That's fun, right? All right, so we're going to do search jQuery click event. All right, so if we take a look at the API documentation, the most important thing you can learn is how to read API documentation. Everything that's official, which, by the way, I think I just saw a follow come through. So let me take a quick look. Let's open it up. Yes, Puppycat, thank you so much for the following. I greatly appreciate that. Okay, so the click... So really what it comes down to is if you can read API documentation, you can learn anything. You don't have to memorize it all. You just have to know how to read it. So this here is showing that the function name is .click, and it will pass something called a handler. And the handler is the function you're going to do. And it passes event data and a handler. So there's, even in this case, there's going to be... code examples. So you can even look here and see all about it. What I want to do, so this isn't telling me really what I want, because what I want is the position of the mouse when I clicked. Position of mouse. Okay, event. So what's happening here is, so we want to look. So there's going to pass an event and the event.pageX. So if we go back here, so this is going to do event. So you clicked on me, and then let's say plus event.pageX plus another space event.pagey. So this should now tell us the coordinates of where we clicked. So we go back here and we look, okay, you clicked me 261.75, 213. Okay, so it knows where we clicked. Wonderful. So now how is this going to be useful to us? Well, let's do something with that. So let's say hero div.css. So now we know that the CSS controls the display of the objects. So what we want to do is we want to actually manipulate that CSS. So we want to change the values. So really we have a top and a left. So top is going to be event.pagey px. So the CSS values are actually text. So if I simply pass it a number, which is event.pagey, it's not going to know what to do with it. It needs to know if it's a pixel, if it's an EM, if it's in inches. So CSS actually supports a whole range of values. Just deal with pixels, unless you have special cases. So in this case, I'll copy paste. So left, page X, pixels. All right, so now every time I click, we're going to take the hero div. We're going to give him the CSS value, the top of the event.pagey, and the left of event.pageX. So let's see how that works. So there we go. So as we click around, he moves. So it's now alive. This is a little boring because he doesn't really move. So there's two ways. So it's not really animated. It's kind of just go here. So now there's two ways we can animate. One is to do a JavaScript-based animation, which would be to have him kind of step through. So say, instead of saying move here immediately, say this is your destination point and I want you to slowly move that way. And in fact, that's what we will do soon. But what we're going to do now is show you some JavaScript some CSS animation techniques. So CSS has, yes, CSS transitions. So CSS has transitions, and because I don't use them often, I'm going to quickly look up the use. So yes, a CSS transition. No, I just want the boring. Just give me the syntax. So CSS transition is you can define what transitions and then how long it takes to transition there. So you could say, I want the top to happen, I want the top and the left to happen in 2 seconds, but I want color to happen over 10 seconds. So that means if you change the color, it's really slow, but if you change the top or left position, it's really fast. So in this case, we'll say all. So transition, all, and then we'll do 2 seconds. All right. So I reload and I click, and now he's got a little bit of life to him. Now the question is, there we go. So yeah, so we now have quote unquote animation. Awesome, Starman. So now we're moving. Now the only problem with this is a cosmetic move. This transition is happening only visually. According to everything related to this this element within the HTML, it is either in position X or position Y. So that might be changing based off of what browser you're on. But the reality is this is 100% cosmetic. And where this becomes an issue is, let's say you're doing collision detection. So you want to say, does A hit B? If I go from here to here, and there's an object here, with a cosmetic move like CSS, you're going to have a problem because it's going to essentially skip right over it. Another thing you can do with the transition is, let me just see what the values, I think. So you can tell it how you would like it to ease. Meaning how you want it to go. So you can have a linear transition, which basically is it moves in a straight line at a constant speed. Whereas ease in out means it accelerates faster and then slows down. Hey, charitable gamers, how are you? So in this case, we'll do ease in out. So as you see, he starts out slow, gets a little faster, and then goes slow again. Whoop. So yeah. So that's ease in and out. And the other values you have, so you have ease, which specifies a transition, slow start, then fast, then end slowly. Linear, ease in, ease out, ease in, out. And if you do know your cubic Beziers, you can do a whole thing like that. Yes, Realtia pointed out a great thing, which is that a CSS transition does use the GPU. So that means it will be significantly faster and more efficient than doing JavaScript. So there is that benefit. Again, it all depends on what you really need it for. Okay, so we now can move our guy. So we now need our other guys to move as well. So what we're going to do is I'm going to create an object, which I'm going to call world. Var world equals, all right, so it's an empty object. So what I want to do now is world.push, or sorry, world. So how do I want to do this? There's lots of ways I can. I'm going to do this the less scalable way to just make this a little bit easier. And I'm going to add, so world.characters, or I'll just call them people. World.people equals an array. and then world.people.push. So now what I've created is an array. An array is a collection. It's a unordered, very boring collection that you can kind of iterate through. So you'll see the power and why I'm doing that later. And push basically adds something to an array. So what I want to do is now I need to name my people. So I don't have to name the people, but if I name them, then I can reference them by ID. So ID is extra, and ID equals extra1 or extra2. So let's name him extra1 because why? Yes, Machiavellius points out that arrays are ordered. And in JavaScript, they start with 0. So the first element is element 0, then 1, then 2. All right, so what I want to do here is, so element is, I'll just call it L, is going to be extra1. So what I'm doing now is I'm pushing an object, and an object allows me to name basically my element. So I'm saying my element's here, my top is going to be 0, and my left is going to be 0. So I'm doing a few things here. One is I'm storing values for easy retrieval. Hold on one moment. Sorry, it's something in my throat. Okay, so I'm storing values, which will make things significantly easier. And the reason for that is later on, I'm going to want to know where everything is. So I'm going to want to know what's the position of this, what's the position of that, and are they hitting each other? And if I have to go to the document and say, hey, document, tell me where this is, and the document has to go figure it out and then send it back to me, and then if I have to do all of that, it will be a lot of processing. Whereas if I just say, hey, this element is here because I know it is because I told it to be, it actually saves a lot of processing. All right, so we're pushing that on. So we're giving that, and then we'll push another person on there, which is extra2, and extra2 is there. And then we're gonna say move people. All right, so now we're calling a function, which we don't have yet. Function move people. All right, so move people is going to move them. All right, so the first thing first is we need to either determine whether or not we want to start our people out in a different location or just kind of have them move in a random direction. I think at this point, I want them to move in a random direction, somewhere within the document. So let's just have everybody move around. All right, so the first thing we need to do is for person in people and world.people. All right, so for is a loop, and what it will do is it'll iterate through all available items. So we were talking before about, yeah, there'll be CSS. Worry not, worry not. And the CSS came a little earlier. So yes, so what we were talking about the array. So in an array, what you want to do is to, kind of step through it. So think of it as a stack of cards. And you're just kind of flipping through one at a time, going next card, next card, next card, next card, next card. So that's what this is doing. So what we want to do is each person is going to move in a random direction every time we call this function. So what I want to do is figure out where the person is, and then from there, I want to move them within the bounds of the page. So I don't want to move them anything negative, and I don't want to move them anything off the page. So let's kind of do that. So let's get, so var, actually, so person equals world.people num. Actually, yeah. Okay. So why am I doing this? So num is not actually, so different programming languages handle this differently, and I don't want to kind of get into all the nitty gritty. But what this is actually giving you is it's giving you the key. So we talked before about how arrays have a key and they start at 0. So the array of world.people, the 0 element is this, and the 1 element is this. So what this is going to do is give me that number. And the way I access that is this way. So now this person is this. And the next person is going to be that. So this basically allows me to have 1,000 people. Yes, Stroman, that is possible. If I get rid of elements in the array, they can go away. So what this allows is me to have maybe 100, 200, whatever people on the world, and they can all walk around with one code. Okay, so if person dot left is, so you know what? Okay. So true randomness is basically means people are just going to kind of walk in a little circle. So let's just kind of do that for now. Okay, so person dot top is equal to person dot top plus math dot random times math dot random times 100. Let's try 10. Okay. Let me just double check math dot random. Math dot random JavaScript. Just because I always use that differently in different languages. Math dot random is okay. So math.random will actually give you a number between 0 and 0.99999999999999999. Yes. You know what? Let's do this. Direction X equals 1. Hold on. And direction Y is 1. Okay, so I'm going to add something here that's going to make random different. Okay, so what's happening here right now is what I was going to do is just add random numbers. So it's just going to move in a random direction, and randomness ultimately will work itself out, so it would go in a circle. So what I'm having here is a random direction. So the direction is, am I moving left-ish? Am I moving right-ish? Am I doing things like that? So that's what this will do. Okay, so what I want to do is get a number between, so a random number, and then times person dot direction Y. This is top. Okay. So then bottom is, oh, sorry, left. Person dot direction X. Okay. So what we're doing here is, so math.random is giving us a number between 0 and 9.99999. So we're multiplying it by 10. So it's going to give us a value of between 0 and 9 pixels, essentially. And then that we're multiplying by the direction Y and direction X. So now, so now what we want to do is we want to randomly change directions for this person. So let's see if they're going to randomly change a direction X or Y. And we'll do that by, so if math.random is greater than 0.8, so it's 80, so it's 20% chance here. All right, so it's 20% chance here. Then They will change direction in the Y. Equals negative. Whoop. Person direction Y. Okay, so what we're saying is if you were going to the left, or going up, you're now going down. 20% chance. And actually, let's make it even shorter, so let's make it 95. Let's make it 5% chance. So for the most part, they will stick in the same direction. And then same thing, X and X. So now we need to actually move the person. So person dot, as we had up here, so we do actually have the element. So person dot element dot CSS top is person dot top plus pixels. And then we need left. And then the last check we need to do is if person dot left is less than 0, then person dot left equals 0. So if they're trying to move off the page, not going to happen. In fact, we'll do 5. And if person dot top is less than 5, person dot top equals 5. And now we need to, so I'm going to clean this up just so it's not huge. Ultimately, spacing doesn't really matter, so we'll just do that so it's a lot cleaner. A little easier to read, as you can see. All right, and so person.left then greater than, I'm just going to say 640 pixels. 640, and actually it's probably about 800 pixels I've got on here, and we'll see. And then 640. Oop. All right, so person, so we got the top now, so if the top is greater than 640, top of 640. So now if I do this, it's going to run once. Why? Because I called it once and then it's done. So what I want to do is I want to keep calling this. So I want to do a set timeout, move people, and I want it to run every second. Well, we'll do every second for now. So now, every second, my people are going to move. And they're picking random directions, and they're kind of moving slow, and, you know, but they're moving around. So our people are alive. We've brought them to life with JavaScript. And how do we move? We move like that. Okay, so now we have people that are moving. This is exciting. Life is good. The world is alive. But if I take a look, our person is transitioning every 2 seconds. And we are running this every 1 second, which is why it's choppy. So let's make it 0.5 seconds. And we'll just do regular. So 0.5 seconds. So now, they're transitioning over about 0.5 seconds. And you can see that iteration. Now, technically, I can remove that. Okay, so now what we want to do is have some collision detection, because extra 1 and 2 are walking on top of each other, and that's just not gonna fly. So another thing, let's show how easy it is to add new people. So let's add an extra 3, an extra 4. So let's go over here. And we need to add an extra 3 and an extra 4. Now, we can also change their top and their left position. So let's say top 100, and you'll be top 100, and I'll move you 300, I'll move you 500. All right. So now we can take a look. Oh, those are off the screen. Why are you off the screen? I don't like that. What did I do? Left 200? Okay. Because I'm too zoomed in, that's why. This should technically be this big. I keep forgetting that I'm heavily zoomed in for everyone. So this is here. So this is where we're zoomed in quite a bit. So things are actually moving this much. That's our 10 pixel movement, potentially 10 pixel movement. All right. So yeah, so we zoom in. So now we have to get to collision detection. So the first thing is we need to figure out if things are colliding, and then we have to figure out what do we do when things collide. So for now, let's do some collision detection. So the way collision detection works, and this is why we have the left and the top positions, is we need to figure out, at least in this case, let's just deal with the boxes. We need to figure out, are two items occupying the same pixels? Which is actually a fairly simple thing to determine. But let's also take a look. Okay, so our width is 42 and our height is 64. So var person height equals, all right, 64. Var person width equals 42. All right, so I'm putting these here to make things a lot more readable and allow us to kind of mess with things. This is just, this is not necessary, but I'm making global variables that I can kind of do with it. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm iterating through here. I want to go through every person that isn't us. So I have to go through everything again. So for others in world.people, if others equals num, continue. All right, so the first and most important thing that you need to think about when doing collision detection is you don't want to collide with yourself, because you will constantly and always collide with yourself. And Storeman has posted a link to some 2D collision detection. I'm going to go with the one that I know, but there's definitely tons that are out there you can try. All right, so the first thing we need to do is, as I said, this is the array pointer. So we know that num, our number, is in the array. So if the others, so if what we're trying to check is us, continue. That means go to the next element. Okay, so now what we need to do is if world.people others, or I'll say other dot top. So what we want to do is we either have to figure out, are we detecting us hitting something or something hitting us? The only difference is kind of where you're referencing from. The concept is all the same. All right, so if world.people other, so if the top is greater than our top, so person.top, and I'll go to the new line with the and because that'll be easier, and world.people.other. Hey, Vash, thank you so much for the hosting. I greatly appreciate that. And as a reminder, because many of you are new, this is a charity stream. I am doing this 100% for charity, raising money for Mary's Meals. Mary's Meals is an amazing, amazing charity that brings food to underprivileged children who need it through schools. So basically they go to areas that need food and they help the local growers to grow more food and provide it through schools. So basically it's helping a community to grow and become better on their own, which is just amazing. Okay, so if the top is greater than us, so they're technically below us. But we also want to see, it says extra life. Nightbot, yeah. All right, let me quickly fix that because that's just not gonna fly. Yep, easy enough to fix. Custom commands. Next one, charity. There's meals. Edit command. All right, done. Done, 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 and done. Okay. So now we want to see if the top, so actually we want to see top plus person height. Okay, so we want to check the bottom. So the bottom is the top plus the height is greater than my height. Then the second thing is to check if their top is less than person dot height. Plus person height. Okay, so we're saying if this is, if their bottom is below my top and their top is below my bottom, that means they're somewhere in there. As long as they're both, as long as either of them is correct, that's perfectly fine with me. Okay, so we have both of those. So if they're hitting us in some way, shape, or form, we also need to see if they're hitting us on the left. So let's add that in there as well. So and world.people others other dot left plus person width is less than person dot left, and world dot people other dot left is greater than person dot left plus person width. All right, so basically I've taken the entire box, their corners, and I want to see, my microphone is only in the left ear. It might be Flay, that might be you. I don't know if other people are having that issue, but should be pushing out in stereo. I've never heard that complaint before. Yeah. So, all right. So I want to see is if these two things are in the same box. So the first thing we want to do is, let's see. I don't think I have anything set. Filters. No, I don't even have a noise gate. This is how it is. Let's see. Nope, I should be doing okay. It's skewed. Huh. All right, well, yeah, long story short, OBS decided to completely explode yesterday. Deleted all of my settings. So OBS says it's going out. I'll have to figure that out. But it's coming into my ears both correctly. So, for now it is what it is. And there's not too much I can do about it. So now we know that these two things are in the same box. So the question is, what are we going to do about it? So we now have the collision detection. So we know that the person is at least, not off the world. So now if we're going to merge these, that's okay, Flay. Thank you. It's this sort of thing that I need to know. I'd rather hear about it and then have to fix it than not know and have people just leave. So yes. So what needs to be done now is we need to figure out what we're going to do. So ultimately what I want to do is I want to push the two away from each other. And they're going to keep moving away from each other until they're out of range of each other. So let's do this. So they're going to, yeah, I'm going to push each other away. So world.people other dot top. So the other person, Okay, so let's try something, because I don't know if this is completely going to work. Dot top plus equals 20. And person dot top minus equals. Okay, so plus equals and minus equals basically is the same as, so minus equals would be person dot top minus 20. So basically it's just shorthand notation. These two are exactly the same thing. All right, so we'll do the same thing with the left, and left. So one person's going to move and the other person's not. And let's see how that explodes things. Maybe. There we go. Okay. And not at all. An extra 1 and extra 2 aren't bouncing away from each other, which makes me not happy. So what did we do wrong? Okay, so let's take a look. So now we're going to start using the console. So console.log checking hitboxes. All right, so let's take a look and see if we're actually checking the hitboxes. So let's bring this up, reload. All right, so it's checking hitboxes, definitely. Okay, so that's not a problem. Let's see if we've actually hit something. Things are hitting. Whoop. Things are hitting. Oop. I want to reload the actual page. All right, so things aren't hitting. So we have an error somewhere. And now the question is, where do we have that error? And how can we fix that? And that shouldn't be too terribly difficult. So let's give that a try. So let's take a look. Okay, so things aren't hitting. So world people other dot top. So let's console.log. Let's just make sure that this is actually doing what we want. So let's just make sure we're getting tops and lefts. And that we called it person height. Yep, person height, person width. Hey! Yes, Zhao, you missed out on the amazing last night, but there is a VOD and it will be on YouTube. So you've got all that going for you. All right, so things are showing up correctly here. Okay, so that's good. All right, so now there is a logic problem. So if world.people, so if dot top plus height is greater than person top, and top is less than person height plus person height. Okay, that's good. And then left plus width. No, it's left plus width is, hold on. So I want left, let's logic, is left is greater than, so left plus person width is greater than person left. Okay. And then left is less than person left plus person width. Okay. So that was a problem. Let's hope that fixes the problem. Oh, I most certainly will blow up on Friday. That is for sure. All right. So these are supposed to be hitting. Let's see. Okay, so why are those not hitting? All right. So let's break this up into two statements. Okay, so the first statement's going to be there. And then if, this is the second statement. This is our second statement. Okay, so our first statement. Console.log, things are on the same top. No. I wish I had a copy of Fallout 4. I do have an Android device to use as a Pip-Boy, though. All right, let's see. All right, so we are not getting the top. So something's not right here. Okay. So maybe let's see. Console.log person height and person width. Let's see. Are those broken? I should get Fallout 4, but for now I don't have it. Time. All right, so 64 and 42. So those are working. Okay, so where did we go wrong? All right, so we know that we're getting a top, and we know that we're getting a height. So let's see these values. Checking against person.top. All right. So it's checking 100 against, okay, so that's fine. So it's checking numbers, I know. We need some equality here. They're probably very, very equal. So we need equality. Oh, less than equal. There we go. Wrong way. There we go. Okay, so maybe this will work. Checking, 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 checking. Okay, so things are not right. Hold on. It should be the other dot top, person dot top, another dot top person. Okay, let's just take a look. Okay, maybe, okay. If person dot top plus person dot height, so that's the bottom. So if the bottom is less than or equal to the person dot top, and the other's top is greater than or equal to, well, first of all, person dot top height would not work. So that is one problem. Okay, so if the top plus the height, which is the bottom, so if the bottom is, hold on, yes, good thoughts. Okay, so if the top plus the height, so if the bottom, no, I want the top. I was right before. So if the top is greater than or equal to the top plus person height. Okay. So if the top, I'm confusing myself. All right, so top. So if the other top is greater than, less than, equal to person dot top plus person dot height. Okay, so that means they're there. And the other dot top plus person height is greater than the other person dot top. That's what the problem was, I think. Okay, wait. Oh, they're on the same top. All right, we got some things on the same top. Okay, good. So we figured that part out. So let's check this again. All right, things are hitting. Things are hitting. Yay, things are hitting. Okay. So things are hitting. Now we need to get it to fix. All right, so let's get rid of that. And okay, so now everything's on the right line. That's too many. Okay. There we go. Okay. So now the question is, so this, the problem is we're trying to move things. So I think that needs to be negative and the other one needs to be positive. And let's see. So these need to be moving away, but they're not moving away enough. Or is it too much? All right, so maybe let's not mess with the other person. Let's only mess with us. Person width. All right, so we're moving a whole person. There we go. Sort of. They collided and then ran away from each other. All right, so pseudo. So yeah, so we now have them running around. And that. Okay, now we don't want we don't want to have things hitting English. So now what I want to do is kind of compartmentalize this. So I want to turn this into a collision function. So check collision, and then I'm gonna say person and num. All right, so function check collision person num. Okay, so return true. Otherwise, turn false. So if check collision, then move it. So what's happening here is we're now checking our collision to see if there was an interaction, and if there was, then we'll move it. And what this allows us to do is also check if where we're going to move is going to collide us, so that we don't do it. So what we can do is, before moving, so original top equals person dot top. Their original left equals person dot left. So we'll move, and then if check collision, then person dot top equals original top. Person dot left equals original left. So what happens here is we're moving the person and then checking to see if they collide. If they do, don't move them. Later on, we're also checking the collision again. If they've still collided, then we're going to move them in a different space. Ultimately, this is kind of only something we need to do once, because once they're not touching, we have the new collision detection in. But I'll leave this for now. and we'll give a reload over here. And they're going to move together and then not move because they're going to be stuck. So let's just start out with things not in conflict. And we'll comment this out for now since we don't need it. And let's move him 120. All right. So everybody's moving, and now nobody should want to bump into each other. Let's see. Come on, don't. And hey, they're not bumping into each other. An extra 3 and 4, like maybe we'll stay here. Look, they're having a conversation. How wonderful. And now they're running away from each other. So this is great. Okay, so we now have things running around. So now, you know what? Let's play a little more, and let's make these a little smaller. So we got this going on. So now, right now, he's not part of the world. We can make him part of the world, but I like him being a hero. He can go wherever he wants. All right. So let's see. So what do you guys want to see next? What should we do with these people who are now wandering this world? I think we should work on some CSS3 text effects. So CSS3 has some beautiful, beautiful, beautiful text stuff. Getting through the word wrapping. Let's see here. Collectibles. Well, this is going to be a one-time. Oh, collectibles, like things that they can run into. Yes, that is a good idea, and we can do that. Let's see. This is not what I want. So let's talk about fonts for a little, just because right now this is a very boring font. So let's do Google Web Fonts. So Google Web Fonts is a wonderful project that offers fonts mostly free, some of them not free. Baseless insults on collision. We could most certainly do that. Let's see. Okay. So ultimately you can find a bunch of awesome fonts. Hello, Pinstrella, long time no see. And then you can add them. So let's find a cool looking font. This is a cool looking font. So I can add it to my collection. In fact, I can use it. So this is a normal. Wow, it's apparently very low on the page load time. And I can actually get the code right here to import it. All right, so we're going to go to our CSS. And we're going to include that. Now what we're going to do is our body. We're going to do font family Poiré 1. So that means now all our fonts are going to be the new one. So yay, things look a little bit nicer, so much better. So now, as you pointed out, we're gonna have some collectibles. So let's design a collectible first. So let's make a pretty. Just for what's going on, Pinstrella? We are doing web development. We're doing CSS, HTML, and JavaScript. We're doing kind of a crash course. So let's start by just creating something, and we'll call it a collectible. So for now, let's add a class collectible. Now, I happen to know that CSS cool border effects. CSS can do some pretty crazy things with borders. Polaroid known. This is not what I want. No, I want like yes, this is all right. So here we go. So this is a regular. So here we have a bunch of different things. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So we're going to animate this. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to start by having our collectible. So it's going to be height 8 pixels, width 8 pixels. And it's going to have a border 2 pixels solid, and we'll make it red, green, blue. We'll give it an alpha channel. So let's make this reddish. Actually, we'll go with blue. So 20, 20, 180, and 0.6. And then background color is going to be red. So 200, 10, and 10, and 0.9. All right, so we want a border radius. I think if I do 8 pixels, it'll give me position, absolute, top 200, left 200. We'll get rid of the positioning, but let's just see what it looks like. Okay, so we've got this thing here. So now what I'd like to do is actually give this some texture. I could do 4 pixels, I guess, yes. Hold on. So what I want to do here is actually this. What I want to do is 6, 6, and border radius. I guess I can do 3. So let's just see. Okay. Nope. Border radius 6. Okay. And now what I want to do is actually give this thing some spikes. So let's see. So CSS triangle border. So CSS actually can do triangles now. Which is pretty like this, which is pretty insane if you think about it. The way it works is you have basically borders, solid borders. Why is arrow up? That's just border left. Okay, so height, width, border right, and border left, and border bottom. Okay. This is a crash course in lots of things. HTML, CSS, and JavaScript is web design, but there's a lot of gaming concepts and things like that. Okay, so what I want for the so left arrow is what I want. So dot collectible before. All right, so the before I want, let's do, so it's just 6 pixels. And then I don't want it blue. In fact, I will have to, I'll get rid of that border. RGBA, so let's just do the same color. All right. All right, so let's take a look. That did not work. Position absolute, top 0, left 0, and display block content. Okay, so we now have a downward spike. That's good. Okay, so let's see if we can do another before. Hold on. So I think we get just a before and an after. So in this case, so top, bottom, so maybe left, and then bottom. Hey, all right, so we now have this cool little shape, which is a square with 2 triangles on top. And now what I would like to do is use a CSS animation. So CSS animation lets you, so transition, rotate. Hold on, we'll do the keyframes first. Okay. So what we want to do is rotate. So CSS animation rotate. All right, here we go. So we're doing this in Mozilla. I guess, you know what, let's just see if, no, I have to do it in Mozilla because I'm doing it in Firebug. But, so what we'll do here is, let's see, how was that? That was outside, okay. So we're giving it the animation of spin, and then we're giving it the animation. So we're saying, use the animation in a 4 seconds linear infinite spin, giving it the transform of a rotate 360. Now this is a whole lot of things I'm throwing at you, but if you also noticed, I just Google searched how to do a CSS spin and it told me. Storeman CSS is just as important. The way things look is just as important to a game as the JavaScript. Okay, so something's spinning, but it's not what I want. That's because it's on the before part. I want it there. There we go. So now our collectible is spinning. How exciting. So now that we have these collectibles, what we want to do is let things collect them. So create collectibles, and then let's just say 5. So function create collectibles 5 or num. Yes, CSS animations will, in most cases, use hardware acceleration, especially when you're dealing with phones. So if you're using the iPhone and you do a CSS transition, it will use the GPU, whereas if you use JavaScript, it uses the CPU. And yes, CSS is optimized for that, as is WebKit and Mozilla. So that is one of the main reasons to use CSS. When possible. All right, so for int I equals 0, I less than equal to num, I plus plus. I think that's it. Or do I have to do a var? No. Yeah. All right, so now I'm doing a different type of for loop. So now I'm doing a for loop that says take this, take I, start it at 0. Well, I is less than our number increment I. So basically I goes up 1. Yes. So now what I want to do is my body dot append, and then what I want to do is make a collectible. I also want var, I guess I can put it in my world. So div, so this should return it. So what I'm going to do is world.collectible. And so let's create that. So world.collectibles equals that. All right, so world.collectible.push body.append div. Actually, I'll do it this way. Body.append ID equals collectible plus num class collectible. There we go. And third script file to remember to include. Good. Yes, you should always have lots of includes. Okay, so now we need to world.collectibles.push and then collectible num. All right, so what we're doing here is we're adding this element to our array of collectibles. And we want to give it a random position somewhere in the document because we want it to be found. So var top equals math.random times document. What did we use for our height and width? What are we using? We're using 640, 840. So times 640 and var with left equals math.random times 840. Okay, so what we want to do is now set that dot left, or dot CSS left is left dot plus pixels, and set the right. Right, oh, top is top. All right, so push, so let's do it the same as we did. So the element is that, our top is top, and our left is left. Yay, top left. All right, so why is that? Because that's an object. Okay, so now we have a bunch of collectibles. So if I take a look, let's get rid of that collectible. Did that not save? Okay, so we now have 2 collectibles. Why are they there and there? Inspect. All right, we have 4 collectibles that are all collectible 5. Because I'm very silly. All right, so they're all collectible num, but really it's not num, it's I. Because num is how many we wanted to do, whereas I is the current one we're building. So we created 5 that were I. All right. There we go. Yay. All right, so we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, and something's off in the here. Okay. So we're too zoomed in, so let's zoom out a little bit. All right. So we now have our random collectibles that are all down here. Okay, so so our top 340 and 540. There we go. Okay, so we now have collectibles sitting here. So now what we want to do is we want to know who gets the collectibles, and we want to do something with those. So let's do that. So what we want to do is we have a check collision, as we now want to check collectible collision. Check collectible collision. So let's just make sure something. All right, so collectible 0, collectible 1. All right, so it should all be based off of what its array value is. Okay. So check collectible collision. So very similar to what we did before. Function check collectible collision. There we go. And we're checking it with person. All right, so check collectible collision. We're checking with person. So I'm pretty much going to copy this code. But what's going to be a little different is we're not going to return true or false. Hold on, I'm catching up a little bit on chat. Yes, classes are done very differently in JavaScript, yeah, I do a lot of PHP, and I'll do some PHP stuff in the future, and we'll talk a lot about classes. But for today, we're not going to. Yes. We're doing this completely by the seat of our pants. The only thing I had set for today is that it's going to be the journey of a div, and then other than that, everything's been made up on the spot. All right. So the reason why we're going to do not a true or false is because we want to actually collect the item that is there once it's been hit. So for item in world.collectibles, we're definitely never checking ourselves. So if world, so let's see, var check item equals world.collectibles. Yes, agreed. When you're just kind of messing around, I mean, the goal was to teach, and the goal was to kind of hear what you guys wanted to hear, and talk about that and talk about different topics. So this was the best way to kind of goof around and see that. All right. So check item.top. So we're checking that. So if that top is less than person.top plus person height. Okay, great. So pretty much I just need to do check item. That's the only thing I need to change. And then everything should be fine. Okay, so we're checking to see. So now the difference is if the collectible does get hit, we want to actually change the item on the person. So my wonder is if we change this person, so there's, hold on. JavaScript pass by reference to function. Let me see. Boop, boop. You can pass an object. Hold on. Okay, so the object will pass by reference. Okay, so what I'm checking here is right now I'm passing a variable, but I actually want to, instead of just check the values on it, I want to change the values on it. So I wanted to see if I could do that. I wanted to see if that value held or not. And it does, it seems. Okay, so what I want to do here first is I want to person.element.append div class equals collected item. Spaghetti code is fun, but for 2 hours, there's only so much spaghetti code you can have. All right, so what I want to do is I want to add a collected item to whoever catches the item. So let's quickly add. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. Oh, whew. Hee-hoo. All right, let's just, yeah. So let's quickly add collected item, display inline block, height 4 pixels, width 4 pixels, border radius 4 pixels, border 1 pixel solid. There we go. Okay, so when they collect an item, they will boop get the item, and then we need to remove the item. So we need to go to world.collectibles. So I guess check item. Check item dot l dot remove. Oh yes, Zhao, you haven't been here in a while. I have a new thing called Stream Assist. Which I built, which is it tells me a bunch of notifications. So in this case, there's 5. So I got a wonderful host from Geek Girly Gaming from before. So this allows me to see what my things. Puppy Cat gave us a wonderful follow. Epic Dime gave us a wonderful follow. Stroman and Vectolore gave us a wonderful follow. So the notifications all pop up, and I can dismiss them, and now it's 0, and it can go away. But I also have the soundboard in there as well. I probably do have some graphical green screen stuff going on as well. But no, that 0 is actually a clickable, wonderful thing that pops open notifications. Okay, so we want to remove the item, and we also want to remove it from the collectibles. So we want to, how do I remove an item from an array? Let me just double check. And we have that as well. JavaScript, delete item from array. Is it remove? No, it's not remove. I want to splice. Do I want to splice? Remove particular element from an array. Yes, it is splice. Okay, hold on. So array.splice. Okay. So what we want to do is array. So we want to do world.collectibles.splice item 1. So what we're doing here is we're taking this element out of the array. So hopefully it won't get checked anymore. So let's take a look. So if I reload now, it might take a little while for something to hit. Let's see. Let's root for it. Oh, extra 3 got himself a winner. Oh, extra 3 got himself another one. Extra 3. Extra 3. Go, go. So extra 3, as you see, he got himself 2 little dots. So he's collected them. Yay. Go extra 3. Extra 3 is going to get them all. You know what? Extra 3 is all about the extra credit. He is all about the extra credit. All right, so let's, you know what? This is just, so we can speed this up. We can very much speed this up. Right now, this is happening every 1 second. We can make this happen every 500 milliseconds. And now it's double team. And we definitely could be doing AI that makes them go towards the collectibles. Up, and extra 1 has got one, and extra 3 has got one. And the reason why extra 3s are down here and extra 1 is up there is because that's actually just adding it to the end, and the line height is very huge. So the line height pops it at the end. So I could add something so that it would go in the end. Extra 3 again with the win. All right. So technically, we could add ourselves in here, and then we could collect them all. But that would be boring. Yeah, seriously, extra 3 with the win. Okay, so let's take a look now where we are and what we can do from here. So we have this world that we can add more people to, or we could take people away. So in this case, when you remove a point, another one should spawn. Okay, we could definitely do that. Var collectible count equals 0. And collectible count plus plus. So then what we need to do is when we name this element, we need to name it. We got a new notification. Hey, Machiavellius, thank you so much for that follow. I greatly appreciate it. It should have popped up on the top as well. It's just kind of good so it doesn't, you know, especially with games with like cutscenes, it doesn't get in the way. All right, so when we pop one, let's create a new one. 1. All right. So let's take a look. Hey, what? That is some extra credit right there. What is going on in there? All right, it keeps creating additional ones that are just not what they should be. Okay, there's a bug. There's a bug. So let's fix the bug. Create collectible count. There we go. All right. So now that bug is fixed, extra 3. Let's see who's going to be the winner here. All right, there's 4 all at the same point. Let's see. Collectible 21, collectible 4. I don't know why they're all at the same point. They literally are all at the same point, and I don't know why. It's a bad day for math.random. Extra 4 with the. Let's see who's going to pick up that entire. Who's going to be the one who picks up the mother load? Who's going to be the one? We should be taking bets here. All right, extra 2, extra 4 is still going strong. All right, so let's limit our board. So we did 340 by 540. So 340, 540. So 540 and 340. It is adding another when they collide. I'm just not sure why they were all the same one. It shouldn't have, like, they shouldn't be clustered that much. They were respawning at the same point, and that's what I was. All right, so now everyone's just a little bit tired. 3 and 4 are hugging. They're just kind of, they really like each other. We should give them personalities. All right, Starman, we are actually wrapping stream up in a few minutes. But I do appreciate you being here. Appreciate you hanging out. It's been fun. Thank you. Yes, pretty much. And nobody wants any points today. Nobody wants. All right, let's give a reload. All right, come on, somebody. All right, extra 4 collected. Again, they're clustering. All right, so there's a weird reason why they are clustering, which needs to get figured out. An extra 2 almost had them, but he ran away. He ran away. All right, so a bunch were spawning in them. Okay, so we have something. All right, well, I will make all this code available on GitHub, probably. I will be posting this on YouTube, and I do stream video game development and whatnot every Tuesdays. Friday, this is a charity stream, so please, I actually am trying to raise $5,000 for charity by the end of this week. So please give. It is greatly appreciated. Every bit helps. $1, $5, $10. It's all amazing, and it goes not to me. It goes directly to the charity. So yes, so Monday I do a D&D-like game. Well, it's an interactive storytelling system. Tuesday is game development, and Friday is I play games with other people, and I will be playing Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, in which case I will be talking a lot and people will be exploding, as I'm sure will happen. And so yeah, so thank you so much everybody for coming. Let's go see if anyone is around for a good raid. And let's see. I think we're good. You guys can go wherever makes you happy afterwards. I don't see anyone that I know particularly that makes sense for a raid.